Nobody wants Donald Trump to no longer be the president more than J.D. Vance.
The real question isn't where Donnie is, it's why Pinocchio is giggling so much.
Today, J.D. Vance got to practice being president. I didn't like it at all, not even a little bit. Is it just me, or are they saying crazy, crazy?
Guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're good, hope you're fine. My name is Philomena and this is Time with Phil. If you're new on the channel, kindly subscribe. And to my returning subscribers, thank you so much. You guys are the real MVPs. So guys, as you may know, Donald Trump has been missing in action for some time now, and everybody wants to know where he is.
Where the hell is Donald Trump?
Is Donald Trump alive right now? I don't think I'm asking the question literally. I mean, he probably is. But where is Trump?
This is a big deal because just before the disappearance, there were rumors that he was in some health crisis when he was seen with some bruises on his hand, swollen feet and ankles. So people want to know what state he's in. The White House came out with some explanation.
On another note, I know that many in the media have been speculating about bruising on the president's hand and also swelling in the president's legs. So in the effort of transparency, the president wanted me to share a note from his physician with all of you today. In recent weeks, President Trump noted mild swelling in his lower legs. In keeping with routine medical care and out of an abundance of caution, this concern was thoroughly evaluated by the White House medical unit. The president underwent a comprehensive examination, including diagnostic vascular studies. Bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasounds were performed and revealed chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition, particularly in individuals over the age of 70. Additionally, recent photos of the president have shown minor bruising on the back of his hand. This is consistent with minor soft tissue irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which is taken as part of a standard cardiovascular prevention regimen. This is a well-known and benign side effect of aspirin therapy, and the president remains in excellent health.
As people keep asking for the whereabouts of Donald Trump, other people's attention has been drawn to J.D. Vance. It looks like he's the happiest in this situation. Because if anything happens to Donald Trump, guess who is going to step in and fill those shoes?
And why should Americans trust you to lead the country?
Well, I've gotten a lot of good on-the-job training over the last 200 days, but also say that the president is in incredibly good health. He's got incredible energy. And while most of the people who work around the president of the United States are younger than he is, I think that we find that he actually is the last person who goes to sleep. He's the last person making phone calls at night, and he's the first person who wakes up and the first person making phone calls in the morning. So, yes, things can always happen. Yes, terrible tragedies happen, but I feel very confident the President of the United States is in good shape, is going to serve out the remainder of his term and do great things for the American people. And if, God forbid, there's a terrible tragedy, I can't think of better on-the-job training than what I've gotten over the last.
So why would J.D. Vance say that? Saying that if, God forbid, there was a terrible tragedy, he's ready pretty much to take over. Why would he say something like that right there?
Nobody wants Donald Trump to no longer be the president more than J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is a spineless sycophant that kisses up to anybody in power. He literally called Trump the American mustache man, and now he's licking his boots, willing to do anything that he says. Now, did J.D. Vance come to a sudden change of heart? Like, did he realize that Donald Trump is actually a really good guy despite all the negative things that he had to say about him? No. Of course not, right? Of course not. He just really understood that the Trump train, there was no stopping it. And the easiest way for him to ascend to power is to just ingratiate himself to them, right? And Trump obviously wants him around because of J.D. Vance's connection to various billionaires and wealth in general through, capitalists like Peter Thiel. But things are starting to look a little bit different now, right? Like rumors about Donald Trump's health are growing more and more and more to the point where people are speculating whether he was alive or not earlier today. I didn't even make a video about that. And Trump has been saying some weird stuff like, oh, I want to make it to heaven. I'm an older guy. That coupled with the fact that JD Vance in an interview was like, oh, if something unspeakable happened, then yes, I'd be ready to take on the role of the president. And now it's kind of becoming a little bit more obvious, right? Like Donald Trump, more likely than not, has congestive heart failure to some degree, and it's probably going to incapacitate him for being the president. The people that put him in power, despite him being so extreme with like the tariffs and things like that, they're probably just hedging their bets that he won't be able to finish his term, and someone that is willing to just do whatever he is told, like JD Vance, will take power, and the Republicans can have their cake and eat it too. I do think it would backfire though, just because JD Vance just isn't very charismatic. Like he comes across as a cherub-faced little boy. So I don't think, these Republicans are going to think he's as cool as Trump, even if he is saying objectively like the same exact stuff. So if that day ever comes for JD, I hope he says thank you.
Everybody's waiting for the Trump show to implode. The trials, the chaos, the age, something, right? But nobody's asking what comes after. The answer is chilling. JD Vance. Because if Trump is the face of MAGA, JD Vance is the prototype built in a lab by billionaires who studied everything that Trump got wrong and decided to perfect it. So let's be real, JD Vance did not crawl out of poverty and bootstrap his way up. He was engineered, funded. Peter Thiel, the same billionaire who helped bankroll Facebook, who dreams of rewriting democracy, poured millions into making Vance the one.
JD Vance says he's ready to be president if, God forbid, something happens to Trump. Sounds suspicious, huh? Especially because Trump hasn't been seen in 4 days since his last press conference. Trump, which is now the oldest president to be inaugurated ever, was diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency, condition that impacts blood flow to the legs. But subsequently, all month, he's had several other things happen, like the swelling of his legs, the swelling of his hands. He's had dark marks all over his arms and his legs, and he was hiding it with makeup last week. But Trump, who is usually on TV every day, loud and proud and boldly saying statements, has not been in the public eye for 4 days, which has been causing a lot of rumors to circulate about his health. And if this was Biden, they would have been putting a magnifying glass on every little thing happening with him. But when your vice president comes out publicly and says, I'm ready to be president if, God forbid, something terrible happens while you disappear for more than 72 hours, makes you go home.
The real question isn't where Donnie is, it's why Pinocchio is giggling so much. Like, everyone is so busy fighting over who's red, who's blue, who's right, who's wrong. No one's paying attention to JD Vance. This guy is a chess piece through and through. This guy went from a book author to a U.S. Senator in 2022 to the VP in 2025. That is not a normal climb. That is a rocket-assisted climb. Now, his movie Hillbilly Elegy, that made him the voice for Appalachia overnight, or Appalachia, however you want to say it. But JD Vance's real power comes from Peter Thiel, a Silicon Valley billionaire, the co-founder of PayPal, an early investor of Facebook, and creator of Palantir, the government's favorite surveillance system. And guess what? He dropped $15 million into Vance's Senate race. $15 million to make JD Vance a senator. Why? Let's not forget, JD Vance flipped on Trump. He used to call him cultural heroin, and now he's his biggest fan. That's not spontaneous change, that's aligning with the machine. And this is why I say everyone should pay attention to a giggling Pinocchio right now, because you know who Geppetto is? Peter Thiel. Now, Peter is selling AI surveillance to ICE, CIA, the Pentagon. If you have a VP in the White House that's in your pocket, that means deals, that means contracts, that's infrastructure, baby. This is so much bigger than red versus blue, right versus wrong. Because the power is being built right in front of us. Vance is the through line. Trump is just the distraction. Until he's pulling the strings.
JD Vance recently visited Rupert Murdoch's ranch in Montana. He has not told anyone what the meeting was about or why he was going. Rupert Murdoch is a right-wing media mogul. If you're trying to do something serious in right-wing politics, you're going to pick up the phone and ask Rupert Murdoch if he'll give you a boatload of money or just favorable coverage with his many media outlets. Rupert Murdoch owns the Wall Street Journal, which not long after this meeting occurred, published the story about the letter that Donald Trump wrote for Jeffrey Epstein for his birthday. When you combine this with the concerns about Donald Trump's health, I believe he has congestive heart failure and or chronic kidney disease, which is why his legs swell like they do and why he's most likely been wearing a urinary catheter from the excessive urinary output from having to take diuretics and medications to take pressure off of his heart and kidneys. JD Vance is preparing to become the president of the United States. Whether it's because the Epstein situation takes Trump down or Trump's health keeps him from continuing as president. The interesting dynamic about Trump is that he's not an elected official. He is a cult leader. MAGA has an emotional connection to Donald Trump. That's why you can't argue with anybody who's MAGA and use your intellect, because all of their ideology is rooted in the things they most deeply fear. For years now, Donald Trump has been telling MAGA, they're not after me, they're after you, I'm just in the way. He has set himself up as their Messiah. And when he's gone, the cult is going to fracture. They do not have an emotional connection to JD Vance.
We go from a reality television show with this president to radio silence. And I woke up this morning and people are blowing up the internet saying, it's happening, it's happening. I don't know what's happening, but I'm gonna tell you what, it was kind of odd with everything happening with President Donald Trump and his swelling cankles and his venous deficiencies. And then you have JD Vance, this in an interview, said he was ready. He was ready to be the president because he's had on-the-job training for 200 days. That's made him ready to be the president of the United States if something tragically had happened. But he said President Donald Trump was healthy and that he thinks he's going to finish his term. And then not to mention that, you had the whole cabinet meeting where all of his minions went around one by one saying nice things about him, about what he's done and how it's affected their department and the country positively. And then he's talking about going to heaven. Are they telling the president something that they're not telling the American people?
JD Vance being like, oh yeah, Donald Trump is totally gonna finish his term, but for whatever reason, if he doesn't make it, I'm right here. Like, alright bro, that's definitely not a weird thing to say at all. He's definitely not planning to use the JD Vance death touch he used on the Pope.
People don't seem to like JD Vance very much because they feel like he's being controlled by the billionaires. And now if something tragic should happen whilst the president's term hasn't ended, obviously since he's the vice president, he automatically becomes the president. And people really are afraid of that. Like nobody really wants that. Now from interviews he's granting and statements he's making, it looks like he's hopeful that he will become president one day. He didn't just dream of ending at vice president because obviously he's just seen and not heard, right? But then when he becomes the president, his political future is changed forever. Like he's now in control. He's not the one that has the power. And it's scary for so many people because of probably his personality and the person they think he is, like someone who easily changes his mind, easily aligns with people that he didn't align with before, maybe for his personal gains. What do you think, guys? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.